All right, I want to get into some of those other points, but I just recently had Alain de Botton on, who you had on your podcast as well, and he talks about this whole concept of romanticism and how it's ruined relationships.
Yes.
And it's actually a recent phenomenon. The last few hundred years, we got in touch with this romanticism, and you could be the hardest bloke in the world, but you still grew up with romanticism around you, whether it's the fairy books or the Disney movies or whatever. And we all expect the love of our life to be everything in our world. We expect to be loved for who we are, and all these other things, which Alain says are ridiculous and not practical. How much of that stuff do you think is true, and how much does that taint what we bring to a relationship and what we expect a relationship to be?
Well, see, I think it's a brilliant question, and Alain is right. I mean, I'm a big fan of the School of Life. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And what he's doing is, in a way, is not really killing off the sacred cows, but he's taking away the sort of rose-tinted spectacles stuff, which is nice and gooey, but it also can lead to trouble. Because, I mean, in a very simple sense, people have a happy ever after kind of view, and that's my princess looks like that. I must now go and find a person who looks like it, and we'll never have any problems, because once we're in the relationship, everything's fine. And so it sort of ties up with what I was just saying, which is, first of all, if you do it purely on the way someone looks, and you expect it all just to be perfect, and once you've arrived at your destination, that's it, then you're in for trouble. And he does it in a very eloquent way. He shows how poetry, movies, music, lots of songs we hear about falling in love with somebody, or, oh, baby, she broke my heart. It's all that sort of stuff, which is, again, the unrequited love stuff it's all just flowery, romantic stuff, which is sweet, it's nice, it's probably nice on Valentine's Day, but it's not a realistic template in terms of a perceptual filter in approaching life. And in a sense, what I've done with the book, which is a system, it's 7 processes that are also supported by audio video. But in that, you literally shape your perceptual filters so that you look at the world differently in a way that you can see whether something is in line with what you want or not, or something you need to address in your communication, etc., etc. So Alain is right. And the perceptual filters that we are sold, if you like, through mainstream media, even something like a woman's magazine is really all about, it's basically lose weight, style stuff, and then it will be, some fashion tips, and there will be stuff like secrets of a fantastic sex life. And it's been like that for the last few decades. And are people necessarily any happier for reading those? I think if you see them as anything other than entertainment, and you start to buy into it and think, no, this is the way I should see it. I mean, it's astounding to me that over 90% of the population in the world does not have the genetics to look like a supermodel. But yet, we have women starving themselves to death, literally, to try and look like somebody who's airbrushed on the cover of a magazine. And of course, a massive rise in eating disorders as a result of all this, or partially as a result, let's say. And so the dream that we are sold all the time through the media, and we see this when young people were interviewed recently for a study. They were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Now, instead of saying a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, a teacher, they said famous. They think it's an actual job title, And I believe that's a very unhelpful mindset that is being sold, not through some sort of conspiracy. I don't think all the TV chiefs will get together, right, let's get them to think that everyone's got to look like. No, it's just that the people in those worlds are subject to the same constraints and rewards. And so for whatever reason, they end up portraying people in a particular way. And then people think they need to conform to it. When they can't, they feel unhappy. And that is, a source of unhappiness, if you like, that's beginning to prevail now. It's really getting a grip in social media. And particularly, these coaches on social media that basically are using brainwashing tactics to get young people to conform to a particular visual stereotype. I think it's very dangerous.
And so this is meant to get in there with practical pieces and just say, look, start dealing with your relationship with these 7 things and forget about the Hollywood and all this other visual.
Well, you don't have to forget about it, but what you would do is approach it as a benevolent skeptic and just read the words. It's written in hypnotic language. So once again, as you read it, the sequence of the words gets your brain to search for what will be best for you. right? And as you do that, you'll begin to get insights, obviously. Oh, I do that. Oh, no, that, yep. And then when you do the processes, because very often, even if you don't read a single word, but you just do the processes, you're going to be different. Because this is everything that I would do with you if I was working with you, either individually or as a couple, on relationships. And so this is a distillation of all the best techniques. Some of them are mine, some of them are not. Some of them are other people's techniques. Havening's in there, some of Richard Bandler's stuff's in there, and there's some hypnosis in there to get you to be able to be the best version of you, and also to get rid of any of the baggage from the past, any negative stuff that you're carrying about not being worthwhile or good enough, or love being. Some people have got really harsh beliefs about love. They believe love is for losers. Love is not something I deserve. Love, makes people unhappy, that sort of thing. And maybe there's some truth in that for them, but I don't believe that's the case anymore. Right. Even once upon a time, I believe love makes these people in these relationships, they're trapped. I've got my freedom. That was the story I told myself over and over again. Yeah. Happily commitment phobic. And it was funny actually. I was with a friend of mine a couple of years ago, we were on vacation together in a pool, and we were both in happy relationships. And he told me, he goes, "Who would have thought?" I said, "No, who would have? We were, bachelors, happily, not to be tied down." However, I now have endless variety in the same person. My wife's like a Mandelbrot set to me, that infinite fractal set of patterns.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's because you also can see those things now.
That's right, because the perceptual filters have changed.
Yeah.